Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Authorities warn pranksters as another bomb threat disrupts St. Mary's School. Labour Ministry team faces more criticisms as more complaints mark Canadian farm work program. And later in sports, national junior record holder goes professional. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shamela Pullen. Here are the details. Classes were suspended at the St. Mary High School this morning following a bomb threat at the institution. It goes on the heels of another bomb threat on Sunday. Up to news time, the school administration was still locked in an emergency meeting. Karen Simpson tells us more.
Heavily armed members of the Jamaica Defense Force and sniffer dogs in position at the St. Mary High School. They are not there for a fire drill, but to defuse an alleged bomb. What was supposed to be the start of a regular new school week for hundreds of students, some scheduled for exams, turned chaotic. It's reported that about 9:30 p.m. last night, the police received a bomb threat.
We arrived at the location this morning in an attempt to prevent persons from entering the compounds and to make it safe. We reached out to our counterparts, JDF, JCF, and we all responded.
No bomb was found. The area was deemed safe and students were allowed to sit their exams. DSP Romeo Henry says despite not finding a bomb, the police is not taking any chances.
The police takes it very seriously. We employ the necessary protocols. We are not going to be taking it lightly. At any moment, these threats can be real.
And Custis of St. Mary, Errol Johnson, who is former principal of St. Mary High, is appealing to those he describes as troublemakers to desist from traumatizing our children.
The children have gone through COVID for 2-3 years. They have survived, and now they are beginning to come back to normalcy. And we would like them to write their exams and to get on with their education so that they can take over from us in the near future.
The incident comes after a similar threat at the Rubis gas station in Ocheria St. Anne yesterday, which disrupted the operations of several businesses. No bomb was found. The police have asked the person who claimed responsibility for the threat via TikTok to report to the nearest police station. The man, who said he was an artist, described the bomb threat as a prank. The police are encouraging individuals to refrain from engaging in these types of disruptive behaviors. The police say making a bomb threat is a serious matter and will be treated accordingly. Carrie Simpson for TVJ News.
The Helene Davis Whiteley Task Force is once again coming under heavy criticism following its report on possible labor issues with the Canadian Farm Work Program. It follows new reports about Jamaican farm workers being forced to work and live in subpar conditions in Canada.
Workers on a farm in Ontario walked off a job on Thursday in protest of the working conditions after wastewater flooded their living quarters. Now, President of the Union of Clerical Administrative and Supervisory Employees, UCASE, Vincent Morrison, says the recent report from the fact-finding team that investigated complaints from Jamaican workers did not reflect a true picture of the struggles some farm workers are facing.
That report was flawed, was horrid. Canada is a big country, biggest country, perhaps even bigger than the Russian Federation. But the fact of the matter is that I believe that you can't send a team for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, to do that investigation. Now, let me say from the outset that I've served on the program for years under Portia Simpson Miller, when she was Labour Minister. We had to, put a team together, and we did tour the whole of Canada, we believe, Montreal, name it, Ontario. We met with the farmers, we met with the workers. And what we found here and there was that we had some good arrangements. Some of the camps where the workers did extremely good. But there are others that were poor. In fact, we had to trick some employers that they didn't do what is required to bring up the standards. We would have to withdraw from the program.
Public commentator Judith Wedderburn says she's not convinced that an extensive investigation was conducted by the team.
I was not convinced that the liaison officers were doing their work adequately. I mean, when you repeated a while ago that more than 30% or 50% of the workers said they were satisfied or happy, I said, really? Because immediately I thought that insufficient numbers of farms with complaints from Jamaican workers were not visited and reviewed, and the farm workers there given an opportunity to speak their minds, describe their situation honestly with evidence, without fear of retribution or discrimination. So I question the capacity. Maybe there are not enough liaison officers.
Both Ms. Wedderburn and Mr. Morrison are calling for more liaison officers to be brought into the system. The fact-finding team appointed by then Labour Minister Karl Samuda last year had reported that the workers interviewed were satisfied with the working and living conditions on the farms. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
And the Ministry of Labour and Social Security says a farm worker died in Canada last month. It happened on May 26 on a farm at Niagara on the lake in Ontario, Canada. According to the ministry, an alarm was raised when the Jamaican did not awaken from sleep. It says efforts by paramedics to resuscitate the worker were unsuccessful. The deceased was 32 years old. 5 days into the 2023 Atlantic hurricane season, and the National Water Commission is appealing to persons to dispose of their garbage properly. This is to avoid blocked drains that is causing flooding, especially in specific areas. On Sunday, a team from the National Water Commission, NWC, and the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation were out in their numbers cleaning stormwater drains. The team made a stop at the intersection of Spanish Town Road and Oxford Street, where they have been getting a number of reports about the area being flooded.
It's one of the spots that we've come to recognize as a common troublesome spot for what people consider to be wastewater. Sometimes they say it's sewage. The truth is, the one that we're cleaning here is not a sewage main. It is not an NWC issue. It is what is the part of the stormwater drain system which exists here, but it has become clogged with debris and improperly disposed of waste.
Acting Corporate Public Relations Manager at the NWC, Delano Williams, explained that the team removed a lot of debris from the drain.
We've observed that in addition to the water, which is merely supposed to be running through stormwater, there's a lot of plastic bottles, plastic bags, biscuit paper, and maybe even some other stuff that we don't want to mention or describe too much. And a lot of silt, meaning that maybe building material is also being placed near the drains. And it tends to get into the system and causes a lot of blockages.
But one vendor who uses that area dismissed claims that they were the cause for the blocked drain.
Well, remember when the rain fall, everything come from different sections. So it meet up all about. So you know that water, everything just come one time. Every night rubbish truck come. Every night rubbish truck come. The only time rubbish truck might not run is when the rain heavy. And no one not going really to rain heavy and still work in the rain.
But Mr. Williams says if this continues, then it can also affect the NWC's system. He makes this appeal.
If the improper disposal of garbage continues, we are likely to see a reoccurrence of the drains becoming blocked up, the manholes becoming blocked up, and whether the NWC or the municipal corporation being forced now to have some kind of remedial action done. So we're appealing to persons, please dispose of your garbage, containerize it properly, don't throw it on the street. Because every time you do that, you are basically putting your health and your risk, your health at risk and your safety at risk.
It's time for a break. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. More young people in agriculture continues to be the focus for recently reappointed Agriculture Minister Floyd Green, but reducing the risks associated with the industry continues to be the greatest challenge for the minister. Jamaica Maitland reports.
A scaled-down, sustainable model of a community that uses renewable energy for power and makes food was the envy of the Westmoreland Agriculture Show recently. Behind it is 10th grade Mannings High School student Jaden Hines.
Whatever waste material is produced by the house or the agricultural department is sent to our solid waste management system, where it can be put into compost tumblers or it can be turned into biogas, which can be redistributed to the community so that nothing is wasted. So basically, the perfect model for sustainable living in Jamaica and the Caribbean.
Studies show that renewable energy lowers carbon footprint, and even though the Caribbean produces less than 10% of the greenhouse gases, its impact is significantly felt in the region. A confident Jaden says his model can help to address this.
In this day and age, especially with developing nations, we'd say we're a bit industrially behind. So we don't have a lot of oil or coal to fuel our industries. So it's best to work with what we have and take advantage of our natural resources, and so that we don't waste anything or pollute the environment.
Back like he never left, Agriculture Minister Floyd Green says he was impressed by the teens' enthusiasm towards the industry, but more work needs to be done. He says many young people aren't sold on agriculture as a career choice.
What we have to show them is that agriculture can make them money, that agriculture can lead to wealth generation, that you can, through above-board legal process, live well.
But predial larceny aside, Minister Green says the risks associated with the industry need to be reduced.
We still have not expanded our irrigation coverage enough so that you reduce the cost of one of your main inputs like water. That is also because we have to do a better job on things like agricultural insurance, so that when you invest or whatever event comes, we started that work, we have to get back on it.
Of concern too is access to loans from banks and other financial institutions for farmers. President of the Jamaica Agricultural Society in Westmoreland, Owen Dobson, says the parish can produce food, but these issues continue to hamper them. So too is farmlands that are easily accessible.
We need now to come together as farmers and make sure that we watch each other and be our brother's keeper going forward.
Jamaica Maitland, TVJ News.
It's now time for the Business Minute.
Sagicor Investments has expanded its operations to the Cayman Islands. The location was officially opened recently. President and CEO of Sagicor Group Jamaica, Christopher Zaka, says this expansion represents an extension of the relationship the company has been building through insurance. The business will bring wealth management, portfolio advisory services, capital markets, and the securities trading to the Caymanian market. Sagicor Investments Cayman is a subsidiary of Sagicor Group Jamaica. Further afield, oil prices have risen after Saudi Arabia said it would make cuts of 1 million barrels per day in July. Other members of OPEC Plus, a group of oil-producing countries, also agreed to continued cuts in production in an attempt to shore up flagging prices. OPEC Plus accounts for around 40% of the world's crude oil, and its decisions can have a major impact on oil prices. In Asian trade on Monday, Brent crude oil rose by as much as 2.4% before settling at around $77 per barrel. OPEC Plus said production targets would drop by a further 1.4 million barrels per day by 2024. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm O'Shane Masters.
Thank you, O'Shane. Time now for the top regional and international stories.
In the region, former British Virgin Islands Premier Andrew Faye is said to likely face trial on drugs and money laundering related charges alone after Oline V. Maynard, the former managing director of the BVI Ports Authority, joined her son Kadeem in signaling their intention to plead guilty. Faye and Maynard were arrested in Miami in April 2022 following a sting operation led by the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration DAE, while her son, accused of arranging meetings between the pair and a U.S. informant, was arrested in the United States Virgin Islands. On the international scene, India's official investigation into its deadly rail crash in 20 years has begun, after preliminary findings point to signal failure as the likely cause for a collision that killed at least 275 people and injured nearly 1,200. The disaster struck on Friday when a passenger train hit a stationary freight train, jumped the tracks, and hit another passenger train passing in the opposite direction near the district of Balasore in the eastern state of Odisha. And U.S. fighter jets scrambled at supersonic speed to intercept an unresponsive plane as it flew over Washington on Sunday. The F-16 jets caused a loud sonic boom that was heard around the region, prompting concerns from some residents. The jets were deployed after the plane entered some of the most heavily restricted airspace in the country and failed to respond to the authorities. It then crashed into a rural area in Virginia after a rapid descent. No survivors were found. It's reported that 4 people were on board. And those are the top regional and international stories. I'm Carrie Ann Simpson.
We head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your midday sports report with Jordan Fort.